Hi, this is Kevin McLaughlin from the Acme team, and in this podcast, I'd like to discuss how to choose the orientation of your program evaluation. By the end of this podcast, you'll be able to describe what questions are answered when we orient our evaluation towards objectives, processes, and participants. You'll also be able to discuss other potential orientations for evaluation, including ones that consider resource utilization. Finally, you'll be able to choose and justify the orientation or orientations for evaluation of your program. There are lots of ways to look at and evaluate your program, but this 12 tips paper provides an overview of the orientation of program evaluation, what the focus of each orientation is, and the potential advantages of combining different orientations of program evaluation to provide triangulation and a deeper understanding of what happened in your program, how learning occurred, and why. The first orientation that we can consider is the objective orientation, where the focus is on the learning outcomes that we assess at the end of our program. This positivist perspective is how we have traditionally oriented program evaluation, and in many ways this seemed logical, since we progress from a needs assessment to creating learning objectives, and then use these learning objectives to design learning experiences, create an assessment of learning outcomes, and set our passing threshold. So quantifying the percentage of learners who achieved their learning objectives is a relatively straightforward way to assess the question, to what degree did our program work? However, if we view medical education as a complex adaptive system, where unexpected things happen and not all outcomes can be captured in the pass rate for learners, then we should consider supplementing these data so that we have a more complete understanding of what worked and what didn't. When we orient our program evaluation towards process, we're focusing on how our planned program was implemented. This type of evaluation should take place during the program, because if we leave it to the end, then these data will be prone to recall bias and also outcome bias, where we might be tempted to conclude that implementation must have been good because there was a high pass rate among the learners. Ways in which we can gather these data are by an implementation checklist, so that we can document prospectively what was done, by whom, and when as the program is running. We can gather data from learners, teachers, and other staff by scheduling questionnaires or focus groups. And in this way, we can get more details on the positives and negatives of our implementation. Finally, field notes, where we document issues as they arise and changes that we made, can provide a valuable log of a program's implementation and how to improve this for next time. Most medical education programs will also include participant orientation in the program evaluation plan, and here we gauge the reaction of all participants, including learners, teachers, and other staff who helped with the program. These data are also prone to recall and outcome bias, so they should also be collected at multiple time points, including getting feedback from learners prior to and after the final assessment, as this assessment tends to dominate learners' reaction to the program. Participant-oriented program evaluation typically includes narrative comments related to the process and outcomes of learning that we can then analyze qualitatively and integrate in a mixed methods analysis. You can use a combination of questionnaire that allows you to sample more broadly and focus groups to get a more complete understanding of the learning process and unanticipated outcomes from your program. Again, field notes are a really helpful way to collect data in the form of informal conversations and anecdotal feedback as issues arise during your program. Finally, there are other orientations that you can consider, including where you focus on resource utilization and the wider impact of your program. In addition to financial resources, learners, teachers, and other staff are also a finite resource, and these opportunity costs are an important outcome to include. You can capture costs and time commitments of those involved, and then view these alongside the learning outcomes to try and answer the question on whether the gains were worth the cost and how these costs might impact sustainability. Also, you might consider the impact beyond your program, for example, at the departmental level. Did your program have a negative impact on other programs? Are there ways to mitigate this impact? Alternatively, your program may have been a roaring success and the department would like to expand this program so that other learners can benefit. Thanks for viewing this podcast. I hope you found it helpful Please reach out if you have any questions or suggestions on how to improve the Acme tool.